So in one of my previous videos, I talked about how like control drivers, like there's not really a use for them in an AMS bag. Basically, like for AMs who have slower arm speeds, there's not a whole lot of difference in terms of distance. You just lose some control out of the faster speed disc because you're not throwing it as properly as like a 6-speed disc like the Crave. But if you remember a while ago when the Era came out, this is the Finish Line Era, Drew Gibson's disc company. I loved the Era and I still love the Era. It is just such a great control driver. It's almost like a miniature Wraith. I think it's like a 9 or 10 speed, I'm not sure. I've just got the launch editions here, but it just feels really comfortable in the hand. The plastic feels great and it's just like pretty easy to throw for a control driver. But like I said in my video, for AMs, there's not a whole lot of difference between these two. But here's the thing, I really want to have a place for the Era in my bag. So today I'm going to check and see what exactly the differences are for AMs between control drivers and slower fairways. I've got a couple different stabilities of Craves here, as well as an Discmania FD1 to compare to, because I have a composite Era. I didn't review the composite Eras. I made a little short about it, but the composite ones are much more stable. Some of them have like really high wings, and those are more comparable to almost like a Firebird over stability. This one's not one of them, and this one's more like a Thunderbird type stability. So I want to compare this one to the FD1. So if this fits in my bag, something maybe a little bit more stable than a Crave, hopefully, and maybe even replace the FD1s with composite Eras, then that would be very nice. Because if I have an excuse to throw the Era in my bag, it's gonna be great. But let's get started. Also, it's slightly unfortunate because it's pretty windy today. It's like 15 to 25 mile per hour winds, but I mean, so is the Midwest in spring. Probably gonna be the calmest day I'm gonna get until like June. So we'll make do. Starting with the Era first. You throw that flat. Oh, that was flat, but not the direction I needed to go. All right, the Crave. That's short. Let's go Insanity. It's your funsies. It's the first throw with it. Much more understable. Holy cow. That's a putt. So these went similar distances. You can see my Crave went over there, and the Era's like maybe a couple feet past and to the left. And this is my straighter Era that I shanked and got lucky through the branches. Oh, that would have been sick. So yeah, this one I'm like 6 feet outside the circle, so that was awful. It's so much easier to straddle to your left than to your right. So much easier. Then here's the Insanity. See if the Era flipped that much. That would have been nice. So that kind of lends to my theory, I guess you could say, about the 9 to 10 speed range versus the 6 speed range of drivers for AMs. And that's that, like, even if like the initial stability might be similar, the faster control drivers are just gonna finish a little bit more. And that's like generally the case with most higher speed discs. Like the faster you go, the more finish it's gonna have and the less straight that disc is gonna finish. And that's a big reason why when you play in the woods, you wanna throw slower discs, because they have a straighter finish for you than higher speed discs. But the farther you can throw those, the faster you can throw those, the straighter they finish. So a distance driver is gonna fade a lot less at the end for a pro than it is going to be for an AM, because we can't throw it as far as they can. And that's why a lot of the times, like these stable drivers, like a T-Bird, for example, for fairways, pros can throw that and get it to finish almost straight versus an AM where it's almost gonna finish left every time. And that's because they can, if you throw those 7-speed discs like over 400 feet, then they're gonna fade a lot straighter for you then. So that's a big difference between like the Craves and the Eras for me. And that kind of showed over there because the Era finished farther left than the Crave did. So, and they flew pretty similar lines. So even though I do think the Craves are a little bit less stable initially, which could be enough to bag them both, we'll keep saying, pretty similar shot, it's just a little shorter. That was awful. Skip up there. That was so bad. That was awful too. I can't throw. I feel like I've gotten significantly worse this winter. So I apologize to all my viewers. I can't throw to save my life. That is still gonna putt though. I will say, my Crave I actually like threw in the air, and I'm still outside the circle by a solid 10 feet when my Era that I threw straight into the ground is probably about 25. Oh. There we go. So the things that I'm looking for between these two discs, well, first I need a coach because I suck right now. But what I'm looking for is, one, stability differences. If the Eras are more stable than my Fission Craves, then that would be ideal. And I'm not just talking about the end of the flight, because like I said, like even if they had the same stability beginning and mid-flight, then the end, they're still gonna have a more of a finish the end for the Eras because they're just faster. But also if the Eras go farther, like consistently, and they're a little bit easier to get the distance farther, then that's another reason to bag them both. So yeah, basically like stability and distance. But the other thing with stability, I want the composite one to be like pretty close to like the FD1s. Because if that's the case, then I could just take the FD1s out of the bag, just have Eras and Craves. So that would be ideal. Which here in these first few holes, I can see a little bit to check and see like the stability differences at the early to like mid flights. Once we get into the back nine, into the open, it's gonna be windier and it's gonna be able to throw them a little bit farther, so then we can see the distance, but also the stability between like the FD1 and the composite Era. So that will be nice. It's not great still. I have yet to have a throw that feels good. I will say that the Crave, especially that this one definitely is more understable, but that one is like it pops up more and flies a little straighter, more and easier than the Era. Like if I put the Era on the hyzer, it's like popping up a touch, but it's like not going all the way flat for me. Which a reason why I could be struggling to throw the Eras is because I'm trying to throw them on similar lines than the Craves, and they're just more stable than the Craves for me. Or it could just mean that I can't throw them, which could be a reason. But then again, I'm not throwing well at all today. Because like if I'm throwing well, then I can throw Wraiths, which are 11 speed. So Eras should be easier to throw than my Wraiths. But right now shouldn't be throwing my Wraiths. All right, so this one's like up and to the right, but this one will be really good for testing the stability because we got like a headwind, left to right headwind. I'd say it's like 12 mile per hour winds. So I'm gonna throw it at the like tree down there and kind of just see what it does. All right, well, parked that short position. See if the Crave can match that or if it turns more. It wasn't the same throw, but it looks like it might have been similar in stabilities. Now, I know one thing that people are gonna be wondering is, why can't you just bag both, or all of them, like the FD1, the Crave, and the Era, if you like the Era so much? Well, I'm not just a mold minimalist, I'm just like a disc minimalist in general. So basically, instead of asking, does this have a place in my bag? I'm more asking like, do I need this disc in my bag? Like, can I make something else work? Because I like having the least amount of discs possible in my bag. Like I want to be able to hit every line that I can, but having just less discs in my bag is just less to worry about, less to carry, and it seems like everything is a little bit more streamlined, and that's what I like. So I could just throw in the Eras just because I like the Eras, but then I'd have 2 to 3 Craves, 2 to 3 Eras, an FD1, and 1 to 2 Firebirds, depending on the wind. It's like, that's way too many fairway drivers for my bag, way too many. So if I want to add the Era, I need to take out some of those other things, because I only want like 4 to 5 fairways in my bag at all times, depending on the wind. Like most of the time I'll carry just 1 Firebird, but if it's really windy, I'm carrying 2, one like crazy beefy one and one normal like Sexton. And I really want to see how the Era does with this guy. See if this can hold the hyzer the whole way. That was nice. Now you see if the Crave can hold that line. You can definitely feel a speed difference on that Era. So I think it might have just gone a little farther to get to that basket, which that's kind of what I was thinking in the beginning. Like if I can make it to where I have my Craves and then the Eras just go a little bit farther and they go a little bit more left and a touch more stable, then I'd be able to get that and work that into my bag. So yeah, like this I think would be a reason to have the Era in the bag, because the Era went farther, it's a little bit further left. So now I'm outside the circle, probably 35 versus like that one's like 15. Yeah, we'll see the stability on these next ones, but that might be, those kind of shots might be what gets this in my bag. Probably one of the biggest things I don't want to do is have a disc in my bag that like I can't throw, because I feel like that's pretty common with a lot of amateurs, is they have control drivers or distance drivers in their bag that they can't properly throw. I just don't want to do that, just because a lot of people don't see the hurt in that, but at the same time, it's like you're just not getting consistent results with a disc. So like you might be looking at something and being like, oh, that's nice and stable, but then you get like a good throw with it and you throw it properly, you get the proper nose angle, you get a good spin on it, and then all of a sudden it's understable for you, or more unstable than you thought, and you're just like, it never does that for me. And that's because maybe it's too fast of a disc for you and you just haven't been throwing it properly. And then you get one good throw with it and you did throw it properly and now it flies completely different for you. So I don't want that to happen. So this might not be a decision I make today just because I'm playing terribly. I need to get back like in season. So, but I think these just like a little bit faster than my Craves, a little bit more stable or a little bit more finish. And I think I like that. So we'll see the stability more on this one. Got a nice headwind. That was a good throw. Hold it, come back. That was nice, Got like, I would say like 17 mile per hour headwind, slight left to right. See if that Crave can hold that, because I don't think this Crave can hold that. Yeah, that basically confirms it, which I do think that has to do with like the underside of the rim maybe, because the Crave's underside of the rim is pretty rounded or flat, when the Eras is definitely still pretty flat, but it has like a slight concave under wing, and it's just sharper at the edge when the Crave is very rounded on the edge. It doesn't really have a lip or a sharp edge on the bottom. Let me show you. Yeah, so like with the Crave, for example, let me see if I can get it. What I mean is like underneath the rim here, it's like very, so if you can see on the Era, it's like sharp almost. So you've got, it comes out here, stops, and has like a corner on the lip here. When the Crave, it might actually be a little bit more concave on the bottom here, but this lip here is not, I don't know if you can see it much on camera, but it's rounded off. It's not as like sharp edge and comes up. The shape is generally the same, but it's like almost like sanded and shaved off there a little bit when there's someone on the tee. So I'm gonna continue later. I'm gonna try and put these side by side and see if you can see them, but like the edge here is just a lot sharper on the bottom here than the Crave. And I talked about like one of my earliest videos. It's not a great video to be honest with you, but I talked about how that lip on the bottom, and I even talked about like a little bead on the bottom for like T-birds and how it makes it just like more stable to fight the winds. And I think that little lip there, even though it's just like the smallest of changes, I think makes a huge difference in the stability of this thing. And I don't know if the plus rim on the Crave does much for it either in terms of stability, but like the Crave has the plus rim and the Era does not. So I don't know if that plays into stability at all. No idea. It could not. I don't know. The Era definitely is a little bit more stable, so now I just need to see if it's more stable than the FD1 is, like the composite ones, because if it is, I think I'm throwing Eras this year. Got like 15 mile per hour headwind, left to right. FD1. Yeah, that drifts right a little bit. Wasn't a great throw, but got the composite Era. These composite ones are nice and stiff too. That's what I like about their composite plastic. Oh, that might be, I want to say that turned a little bit less than that FD1 did. The FD1 definitely drifted right a good way, so I think it's official, guys. I'm going Eras.